Real English Lounge.
The art of everyday English.
Can I tell you something I never admitted in the first year?
Please.
I went 3 weeks without leaving my apartment.
3 weeks.
At some point, I realized I hadn't been outside and I couldn't remember how long. And the thing is, it hadn't felt like that long.
How did you figure it out?
I looked at my food delivery history.
That's a very specific way to reconstruct your life.
19 consecutive days of delivery orders.
And you were fine with that at the time?
At the time, I thought, this is the dream. No commute, no office small talk, pajamas at 2 p.m.
Pajamas sound great until you stop being a person.
Welcome to Real English Lounge. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Claire. Today, the honest version of working from home. Not the productivity tips, not the morning routine advice. The real thing. Subscribe on YouTube if this podcast is helping your English.
Comment challenge. Are you working from home right now or do you go in? Tell us in one sentence in English in the comments.
Level check. B1 to B2. English for talking about work, daily life, habits, and the things you only learn by actually doing them.
Word tour today: commute, boundary, isolation, routine, productivity, and flexibility. 6 words for one of the biggest changes to how people work.
Let me start with what nobody tells you before you start.
What's that?
The structure was invisible until it was removed.
Say more.
When I worked in an office, I had a commute that I hated. I had meetings I didn't need. I had a schedule that was partly imposed on me. And I thought if I could just get rid of all of that, I'd be so much more productive.
And?
The commute was also when I listened to things that made me think. The meetings were sometimes the only time I talked to another human all day. The imposed schedule was the only thing separating Tuesday from Saturday.
The thing you were trying to escape was also doing things you didn't know it was doing.
Completely invisible until it was gone.
That's very uncomfortable to admit.
Very, because it means the office wasn't just bad. It was doing real things. And when it disappeared, you had to find ways to do those things yourself.
Which most people don't do because they don't know they need to.
For at least the first 6 months.
My 3-week apartment story is the extreme version of this, but the quieter version happened before that.
What was it?
I noticed that by about Thursday of every week, I felt slightly off, restless, flat. Not unhappy exactly, just less like myself.
And you didn't know why?
Took me a while to figure out. The reason was I hadn't had a real conversation with another person all week.
The whole week?
Video calls, yes. Typed messages, many. But sitting with someone, talking, reading a room, nothing.
And that does something.
It turns out I'm much more affected by the absence of in-person contact than I expected. I always thought of myself as someone who needs a lot of alone time.
And
I do need alone time, but there's a difference between choosing to be alone and just drifting into it by default. The first feels good. The second creeps up on you.
the default isolation is the quiet version of the problem.
Exactly. Nobody notices until Thursday.
I want to talk about the work-life boundary thing because I think it goes in both directions.
What do you mean?
The standard advice is protect your home life from work bleeding in. Don't check emails at dinner. Have a clear end time. Separate workspace if possible.
Which is all valid.
All valid. But there's the other direction that nobody talks about. Work bleeding out instead of bleeding in.
What does that look like?
The 3-hour lunch that happens because nobody is watching. The slow morning that starts at 9:30 because you're in your own home. The afternoon that gets eaten by personal tasks because they're right there.
Oh, that version.
And then you end up working until 8 p.m. to make up for it, and the boundary is gone in the other direction.
So the boundary needs protecting from both sides.
You're protecting work from life and life from work simultaneously.
Which requires much more self-awareness than an office does.
The office enforces separation for you. Without it, you have to do it yourself.
And that's genuinely harder than it sounds.
Much harder. Which is why year 1 was chaos for almost everyone I know who went remote.
Okay, so what actually works? Because we're 3 years in and we're still here.
Still here.
What changed?
3 things for me. First, I treat getting dressed as non-negotiable. Not for anyone else, just for my own brain.
The pajama rule.
The pajamas stop at 8 a.m. rule. Because how you're dressed tells your brain what mode it's in. And a brain in pajamas at 2 p.m. is not in work mode.
The brain is not sophisticated about this.
The brain is embarrassingly literal.
Second thing?
I leave the house at least once before noon, every day. Not for anything specific, just outside, air. A different context for my eyes to look at.
The fake commute.
I call it that 15 minutes, sometimes just to a coffee shop and back. But it separates the morning from the workday in a way that nothing digital can.
Mine is the hard stop. up. I have an alarm at 6:30 that says, close the laptop.
An alarm?
Because without it, I don't stop. Not because I'm so dedicated, but because there's no natural ending. The office had a natural ending. The commute was the decompression.
Without the commute, you need to manufacture the decompression.
And for me, that's a walk. 20 minutes, no phone, before dinner. That's my commute home.
And does it work?
It works well enough that I notice when I skip it, which is its own kind of answer.
The last honest thing I want to say about working from home.
What's that?
The freedom is real. The flexibility is genuinely wonderful. Being able to organize your day around your actual energy levels rather than a fixed schedule, that's not nothing. That's significant.
Agreed.
But the freedom requires more from you, not less. It requires more self-knowledge, more self-regulation, more active effort to do the things that used to happen by default.
Nobody in the first wave of remote work understood that.
Nobody understood that the office was doing invisible work. Not just the meetings and the structure, the incidental conversations, the separation of spaces, the social contact, the commute as transition.
You have to recreate all of it deliberately.
All of it, which is more work. But also, once you've done it, it fits you better than the office ever did because you built it.
3 years to figure that out?
For most people, yes. Time for the word tour. 6 words from today.
Definition, natural example, mini dialogue, upgrade phrase.
Word 1, commute. C-O-M-M-U-T-E. Noun and verb.
A commute is the regular journey from home to work and back. Commuting can mean the travel itself. For remote workers, the commute disappeared, and with it, the transition time that was doing more than most people realized.
Example, she hadn't missed the commute until she realized what it had been doing. The 40 minutes each way had been reading time, thinking time, decompression time. When it disappeared, those things disappeared with it.
Mini dialogue. Do you miss having an office?
Honestly, I miss the commute more than the office.
Really?
The commute was the only unscheduled time I had to myself every day. I didn't know that until it was gone.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of, I travel to work by train, try, my commute takes about 40 minutes each way, which sounds like lost time, but is actually when I do most of my reading and thinking. I've come to see it as protected time.
Word 2, boundary. B-O-U-N-D-A-R-Y. Noun.
We covered this in EPO8, but it applies differently in the WFH context. A work boundary means separating work time from personal time, a clear beginning and end. Without an office, this boundary has to be created consciously rather than existing by default.
Example, she thought working from home would give her more time. It did, but the time blurred. Work bled into evenings. Personal tasks bled into workdays. Setting a clear boundary was the thing that finally made remote work feel sustainable.
Mini dialogue. How do you manage the separation?
Badly at first, but I have a hard stop now. Laptop closed at 6:30. Everything after that is not work. That one rule changed everything.
Did it take discipline?
Heh, less than I expected. The alarm does the disciplining.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of, I try to stop working at a reasonable time, try, I've had to be very deliberate about my work boundaries since going remote. Without a physical separation between home and office, the line disappears unless I actively draw it.
Word 3, isolation. I-S-O-L-A-T-I-O-N. Noun.
Isolation means being separated from others physically, socially. In WFH context, it's the creeping absence of in-person contact that can develop slowly until Thursday of every week when you realize you haven't spoken to anyone face-to-face all week.
Example, the isolation hadn't happened all at once. It had crept in over months. Fewer lunches, fewer office conversations, fewer reasons to leave the house. By the time he noticed it, it had become the default.
Mini dialogue. Are you finding it lonely?
Lonely's too strong, but isolated, yes, sometimes. There's a kind of flat feeling that builds up when you go too many days without real human contact.
What do you do about it?
I got intentional about it. Coffee with someone at least once a week, not optional.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of, I find it a bit lonely, try, I've noticed the isolation can creep up on me when I'm working from home. I've had to be deliberate about social contact. Otherwise, days and weeks can pass without any real face-to-face interaction.
Word 4, routine. R-O-U-T-I-N-E. Noun.
We covered routine routine in EP09, but for work from home APH, it means something specific. The deliberate structure you build to replace what the office provided automatically. Without a routine, the days blur and the weeks blur. And suddenly, it's been 3 weeks and you haven't left the apartment.
Example. He'd thought the freedom from routine was the best part of working from home. 6 months in, he realized the freedom had become chaos. The routine he built wasn't a cage. It was what made the freedom sustainable.
Mini dialogue. What does your day look like now?
Much more structured than I expected when I went remote. I have a fake commute in the morning, a hard stop in the evening, and no pajamas after 8. It sounds regimented, but it's actually what makes the flexibility possible.
The structure creates the space.
The structure is what the freedom stands on.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of, I try to have a routine, try, I've built quite a deliberate routine around working from home. Not to restrict myself, but because without it, the flexibility tends to turn into drift.
Word 5. Productivity. Productivity. Noun.
We covered productivity in EP09 too, but from home, it has an added challenge. You're responsible for creating the conditions for it. The office gave you a context. Home gives you comfort, which is not the same thing.
Example. He was more productive in some ways and less in others. The deep work, focused writing, complex thinking, was better at home. The quick, collaborative things, solving something in 2 minutes, having a spontaneous idea, were much harder alone.
Mini dialogue. Are you more productive at home?
For certain kinds of work, yes, dramatically. For others, I go to a coffee shop or find a reason to see people. Not all productivity is the same.
The context matters as much as the intention.
Completely. Different work needs different environments.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of, I'm pretty productive at home, try, my productivity at home is uneven. I've learned which kinds of work suit the home environment and which don't. And I try to match the task to the context rather than assuming one setting works for everything. Last word, flexibility. Flexibility. Noun.
Flexibility is the freedom to adapt, to change your schedule, your location, your approach based on what works. For remote workers, flexibility is the primary benefit. It's also what requires the most self-management to use well.
Example. The flexibility was the thing she'd wanted most, and it was genuinely wonderful. Being able to reorganize her day around energy levels, errands, or unexpected things. But it had taken her 2 years to learn how to use it without the whole day dissolving.
Mini dialogue. What do you like most about working from home?
The flexibility, honestly. Being able to work when I'm most focused, stop when I'm not, and not perform productivity for anyone. But it took time to earn that. To build the self-management that makes the flexibility feel like freedom rather than chaos.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of, I like the freedom, try the flexibility is the best part. Being able to structure my day around how I actually work rather than around office hours. It took time to learn how to use it well, but once I did, I couldn't imagine going back.
That's the word tour. Commute, boundary, isolation, routine, productivity, flexibility.
6 words for the version of working from home that nobody talks about in the first week. Let's close. The honest truth after 3 years, the freedom is real and the cost is real.
The office was doing invisible work. The commute, the structure, the social contact, the separation.
And when it disappeared, you had to recreate all of it deliberately, which is more effort. But the version you build fits you better.
Get dressed, leave the house before noon, close the laptop at a fixed time.
And check your food delivery history occasionally, just to know where you are.
Practical advice.
Comment challenge. Are you working from home, going in, or something in between? 1 sentence in English in the comments.
If this helped your English today, subscribe, give it a like, and share it with someone currently working in pajamas who hasn't left the house today.
I'm Claire.
I'm Ethan. Pajamas sound great until you stop being a person.
Real English Lounge. See you next time.
Your English journey doesn't end here.
Keep listening, keep learning, and keep speaking.
Choose your next conversation.
We'll see you in the next episode of Real English Lounge.